Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's informational webinar. Today, we're going to be covering everything ITIL 4 and what you need to know about it. We're joined today with Axelos. My name is Alex Mazurek with Quint, and I'll be your host today. Now, just a few things about Quint for those of you who are new to us. We've been in business for over 25 years doing consulting and training in all areas of IT. In addition to our involvement with ITIL, we're also founding members of DASA, which is the DevOps Agile Skills Association, and also the Lean IT Association, which is called LEADA. And then these are the 6 key areas in which our business helps other businesses. We help companies and organizations organize their IT, blend technology with their business, innovate across their business ecosystems, help their teams transform to high performance. One of these ways using ITIL, help them be smart with their data, and last off, we help them digitize their products and services. Now, today we're joined today by today's presenters. We're very lucky to have them with us. We have Igor Freitas. He's with us from Axelos, and also our very own Claudine Kors, who is actually one of the co-developers of ITIL 4 and will be providing some input as well. So at this point, I'm going to hand things over to Igor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Alexander. So a little bit of the agenda of our webinar today. I will talk a lot about ITIL 4, the reason we are updating the current framework, the certification, so a lot of interesting information on the certification scheme, the new levels of ITIL, and the timelines for that. And then Claudine will cover the Quint agenda, which is basically how they're involved with our update, the value of ITIL 4, and some further information about Quint material and their timelines. Well, talking about ITIL, it's always good to reinforce the importance of ITIL in the ITSM space. So it's basically the most adopted ITSM in the world. We have 90% of the Fortune 500 companies adopting ITIL in some businesses, and we have over 2 million practitioners using ITIL worldwide. A few examples of companies using ITIL: we have British Airways, we have Disney, we have HSBC, and so many other companies across various industries. The current certifications that we have within ITIL v3 framework, we start with ITIL Foundation, which is the entry level, and then we have ITIL Practitioner, which brings a lot of practical knowledge and how do you apply the concepts of ITIL. We have the ITIL Intermediate, which is divided into service lifecycle modules and service capability modules as well. Those will give you also a practical knowledge on the processes and the key stages of IT operations. Then we have ITIL Expert and ITIL Master. So these all together, they represent the current framework, and we'll be able to compare how these will look like when we're covering the new certification scheme. Some interesting data about the global value of ITIL. So we have here 2 companies who have provided us data on how they have utilized ITIL and how ITIL have impacted their business. So JP Morgan, for example, they've had a positive impact on their customer satisfaction, and Visa and Capital One, they have a positive impact reducing the time for solving critical incidents. Talking a little bit about the importance of ITSM, so where we are in this space, we have some interesting data from a research that Forbes has published in 2017, where 80% of the IT executives, they said that ITSM is important to their digital transformation efforts. And we, Axelos, we have also gathered some interesting data that matches this statement, which is basically that ITIL is becoming more and more important to enable strategies like cloud and big data, so new ways of doing things and new technologies. This ties up to this world where we're living in at the moment. So we have been living in a world where the pace of change is so fast, and this is due to the new technologies, to the new emerging practices, how technology is impacting businesses and is disrupting business that traditionally used to have one model, but because of these technologies, they need to adapt, they need to react quickly and tackle this pace of change that we face nowadays. And we call this the fourth industrial revolution. This is the name that the industry gives to the era that we're living in, which is basically what we've just discussed. Like it's characterized by this fusion of technologies, and then we cannot differentiate really when the physical sphere, the digital, and the biological spheres, how they merge all the time, and how our lives they are affected by this technology. ITIL 4, basically, the update that we've made on the framework is to reflect this new world where we live in, where you need to be faster in order to release your services, to design your services. You need to be quicker to respond to the challenges and to the needs of your clients and customers. And therefore, we wanted to update our framework in order to make ITIL flexible and to make ITIL even more integrated with these new practice and emerging ways of doing things. Some of the guidelines that we have taken in consideration to develop ITIL 4 and to update our framework, one of them is that the new framework is going to be modular. So this will enable us to do more frequent updates. So instead of having only one static publication, we will have a series of content and supplementary content distributed across the framework that will help us to keep ITIL relevant to the new technologies and new practices. Also, another interesting aspect of the ITIL 4 is that it's lean, so we are eliminating any unnecessary content from the framework. It's very practical, so it keeps being practical, and we want to provide a lot of guidance on how to do things, templates and other resources that will help professionals to take the concepts that we provide within the framework, but put them into practice and help their own businesses to tackle all these challenges that we're living in. Another interesting aspect is that is evolutional as well. So ITIL is basically evolving from the current framework. We are keeping the core elements that are relevant from IT service management, and we're evolving to add everything that is new and everything that is relevant to this area and to this industry. It's also a collaborative initiative. It was basically driven by the IT community, and I will explore in our further slides how this engagement has happened and how many people have helped us to update the framework. It's also flexible, so we are making ITIL even more flexible to be integrated with new practices, other practices, and these new technologies, how they can work together and how they can help business by combining what does make sense from one practice with ITIL and another practice, and taking all these elements together to help businesses. A little bit about the team who has led the update of the framework, which we call the global architecture team. So we had this team has led over 150 experts from 42 different countries around the world. So a huge task of collecting inputs, collecting insights from experienced people and people from the industry who are on a day-to-day basis working with technology, working in the IT and in the service management space, and coordinating all this knowledge to make sure that this was reflected in the update. So as mentioned before, we had also over 150 SMEs providing inputs to the update. And these SMEs, they came from various parts of the industry. So we're talking here about professionals and SMEs from the IT operations side, from IT development, from digital, to make sure that we had this diversity on the inputs that we had from updating the framework. We had over 30 sessions with end users. This equals to 100 hours of sessions and discussions in order to provide inputs and get feedback on the update from different industries, from the government, from private companies, for public institutions, to make sure that we also had these different views and this diversity on the inputs that we needed for updating the framework. So what we have found out after all these interactions with our SMEs and these professionals who have contributed to the update of the framework is that the fundamentals of service management, they remain as important today as ever before. And that means that the core elements from IT service management that are present in ITIL v3, they will be reflected on ITIL 4 as well. So all the proven best practice will be also in ITIL 4. We also need evolving practical guidance on the application of new technologies and new ways of working as they emerge. And this is related to the flexibility that I've mentioned that ITIL 4 is going to provide us. So we need to make sure that the framework can reflect these new technologies as they emerge. Another element is that people and the culture behind an organization, they are the most important enabler for companies to provide services and products. And this is related also with the principles that we have in ITIL Practitioner, which is a really interesting point here. And we also have found out that the customer value, they must be at the heart of everything we do. So we talk a lot about the customer experience and how it's important for us to have these interactions with our customers from the beginning. So it's very important to understand what they want. It's very important to understand what they need when we are thinking on a new service, on a new product, and how we can meet their needs. So ITIL is evolving. Some key aspects that are changing from the current framework to the new one. So the ITIL process that you know very well, they will expand to provide an holistic view. So we'll be considering not only processes as in a flow of activities, but also other resources like people, technology, information, and how these all tie up with processes in order to provide this holistic view. Also, with ITIL 4, we are providing an end-to-end operating model. So we want to move away from a siloed view and cover an end-to-end operating model. We're also moving from major releases to continual improvement. So getting feedback, having interactions with your customers, and using these as inputs for continual improvement. We're also having a more flexible value flow, not only like a sequence of activities or life cycle stages, but like a flexible value flow. And the ITIL guiding principles and continual improvement, they are central in ITIL 4. So these are core elements from the intermediates, but especially from the ITIL Practitioner, which was the latest update on the current framework in ITIL. And these elements, they will be a core part of ITIL 4 as well. Here are the ITIL guiding principles that I've just mentioned, the ones that we have in Practitioner. So we can make some connections with the challenges that we have in ITSM nowadays. For example, the focus on value, working collaboratively, progress iteratively. So everything that we said about engaging with your customer, understanding your customer, collecting feedback, using these inputs for continual improvement. These were things that were underpinning ITIL Practitioner, and that will also be underpinning ITIL 4, the new framework. So we are ready to go. I want to talk a little bit more on the ITIL 4 certification scheme. So what are the differences? What are the new levels? Also a little bit about the transition that our current ITIL certified professionals, they will be able to take in order to move to the new framework, and the launch dates. So this is the new certification scheme. As you can see, we have ITIL Foundation as the entry level, just like we have nowadays. And then we have two different streams. So on the left, we have what we call the specialist track, ITIL Managing Professional, which is composed by 4 modules, as you can see. So you have the ITIL Specialist, Create, Deliver, and Support, ITIL Specialist, Drive Stakeholder Value, ITIL Specialist, High Velocity IT, and ITIL Strategist, Direct Plan Improve. These 4 modules together, they result on the ITIL Managing Professional. So someone who completes and passes the exam on the 4 modules, they get automatically the designation of an ITIL Managing Professional. On the right side, we have what we call the Strategic Leader track, and these are made by 2 modules. One of the modules is the Direct Plan and Improve, the same one that we have on the Specialist track. So it's what we call the universal module, is exactly the same one, and it's needed in both tracks. And then you have the ITIL Leader Digital and IT Strategy. So if you have taken both modules and pass on both exams, you get the ITIL Strategic Leader designation. And on the top, you have the ITIL Master, as we currently have on ITIL V3. In terms of launch dates, the English version of ITIL Foundation will be releasing the 28th of February. This has been confirmed. And for the other levels, we are talking about the second half of 2019 as the period when we're going to launch them. Talking a little bit more about the transition for ITIL Managing Professional. So we'll have only one transition in the new scheme, which is basically for anyone who has 17 credits from the current scheme. And then instead of taking the MOOC exam, which would be the case for the current scheme, they can take the Managing Professional transition. The Managing Professional transition will cover the key elements of the 4 modules that compose Managing Professional. And then I would like to talk a little bit about how the current ITIL certified professionals will move to the new scheme. So for example, if we have someone who is certified on ITIL Foundation currently, they always have the possibility of accumulating the 17 credits and then taking the transition. Or if they prefer, they can also take ITIL 4 Foundation and then decide how they want to move up in the new scheme. So one option for them would be, I'll take ITIL 4 Foundation, and then maybe I'll take High Velocity IT because this is related to the way that my company works and the type of products and services that we provide, for example. Or they can still collect the 17 credits and take the transition. If you have a candidate who has intermediate credits or practitioner, but not many credits, so here we're talking about maybe practitioner or maybe one of the life cycles or one of the capability modules. So we would still encourage them to take the 17 credits and take the transition. This would be one of the ways, but they also can go back, take ITIL 4 Foundation, and then 1 or maybe 2 modules that are more attractive for them depending on where they work. For candidates who have more credits coming from the intermediates or the practitioner, what we recommend them is to pursue the 17 credits because they are closer to the transition. So if they get the 17 credits from the V3 modules, then they are enabled to take the transition and move to the ITIL Managing Professional. One thing that's important to reinforce is that someone who becomes an ITIL Managing Professional and then wants to become an ITIL Strategic Leader, since they have the universal module already covered within the ITIL Managing Professional, that means that they need only one extra module, which is the ITIL Leader Digital and IT Strategy, in order to get the ITIL Strategic Leader designation. How ITIL V3 intermediates will help these professionals who opt to take the transition. So the principles, the processes and activities that we have in the life cycle stages and capability modules, they will provide essential knowledge for a better comprehension of ITIL 4. And this is related to what I said before when the principles, the core elements of IT service management, and these include the ITIL processes, they will be reflected in ITIL 4. So all the proven best practice that is currently covered within the ITIL V3 framework, they are still valuable for professionals to tackle their challenges on their day-to-day jobs. The ITIL practitioner guiding principles, as I've mentioned, it will be at the core of ITIL 4. So all the knowledge coming from ITIL practitioner will still be relevant on the new framework as well. And obviously, the V3 intermediates, they will provide credits for this transition. Anyone collecting 17 credits, they are eligible to take the transition instead of having to take the MOOC as they currently do. For those who are ITIL experts, if they want to move to ITIL 4, they can take the transition straight away as an ITIL expert. And by becoming a managing professional through the transition module, they are one module away to getting the designation of an ITIL strategic leader if this is of their interest. Okay, so I've covered the key elements that I want to explore today, and now I'll pass it over to Quint, who will explore further how we can work together.
Thank you, Egor. Thank you for the introduction. Nice to see what a lot of work has been done. We've been working with Axelos and with the ITIL since the 80s already. We've been involved in the when the books were published to work with customers of us to get it implemented, to get it started, to get a good operational services. Processes, and then in 2007 when the life cycle was released, a lot of customers were very happy and they start working to the ITIL version 3. And when the guiding principles in 2016 were presented in London, we went and talked with Axelos and we were involved in the next steps for ITIL version 4. It has been very nice because we continue to get feedback from our Quint community, from you, our students, trainers, customers, people in companies trying to get their best out of the IT services. And this feedback we have inputted in the feedback to Axelos, and we talk with all the SMEs and the architect lead team to try to see if this feedback could be processed. And we're very satisfied as how this ITIL version 4 looks like, where we recently received the ITIL for train the trainer for the trainers. And we're happy to announce that we think it's a good step forward in the ITIL evolution to make it adaptable and adaptable for our customers and in our projects. So it provides a guidance to organization and addresses also the changes our customers are going through. Heige, you already mentioned that that the flexibility is very important, and we see that the customers are improving their service management capability and seeing how they can co-create with the customers a better understanding about the value of their services and the value of the IT services they are providing. So we see this back in the ITIL 4 version, and that's very nice. Here we see the value-driven delivery. This ITIL 4 is the next iteration that incorporates all of the best things from ITIL as it's known today and expands IT and service operation to a new level. This from traditional processes, we go now to a faster quality and value-driven delivery for people and organization. We have a lot of customers now working, even the customers you mentioned earlier, Egor, they are working also agile. They have DevOps teams. They are doing continuously integration, continuous delivery, work a lot of automated processes and controls in their companies. And they ask us how relevant still ITIL is. And how can we combine these two? And do I need to, how do you need to organize myself? So there's all questions we have been hearing the last couple of years, and we are giving answers to our customers and in our trainings to show them how it's still relevant and how it cooperates together. And what you see is that if you look at ITIL in a very strict way or in a very specific way, you might have a problem, because then you're trying to implement in silos. So what we see in some companies is that you see siloed processes, siloed service operation departments or service transition departments, and it was never the real idea behind services. So I think it's a good step forward that we look at the value that we deliver as IT departments, and how our customers can have a benefit of it. So we don't only look at processes and not only the sequences of activities, but we really look at how how activities move to the value chain, and how this together gives good value services. A good thing also about Lean, we see a lot of aspects of Lean coming back in a lot of companies, and we see it come back also in ITIL 4. So do only the things that really matter to add value to the business. Make sure you understand your customers. Make sure that you do the activity necessary for it. In DevOps teams, we see a lot of companies now. So what is change management really in our DevOps team? Or how do we control all kind of activities in some processes? Now we have automated everything, and how do we go to be compliant, and how can we show that if before our change and release processes are delivering this evidence, now how can I show it to my auditor? Or we see like incident management processes. All product owners in agile teams, they define the priority of incident, and that's fine, because that makes it more easier, and you are in interaction with your customer. But how do you do that with incidents who go over several departments? How do you coordinate that? And what is still left of an incident process, of the incident activity, or the goal of the process? ITIL 4 will give you an answer to that, and that's very valuable for that.
So let's talk a little bit about the Quint material and the timelines we have. The material will be released from our ITIL Foundation in January, and will be offered to PeopleCert to get accredited. The trainers will be trained in December 2018, and the official launch of the ITIL Foundation exam will be the 28th of February. So then when everything is officially released, and trainings can be given and exams can be taken. What we did from Quint's side, we developed a student workbook. The student workbook exists from case studies and exercises, very nice case studies. So to apply the just learned theory and new practices, everything, apply to the case study, do some exercises, do some exam questions, examples, and then go to we have a poster, and in the poster we put everything together to sites. So it helps you study and helps you through the material for the ITIL Foundation. So that's for so far about our dates and the material we're developing now. Let's see if there are any questions from our audience. Alexander, can you see if there are any questions?
Yes, indeed. There are quite a few questions today, and thank you both for the great presentation. And I just want to remind everybody before we go into the Q&A that if we don't get to your question today, all of the questions will be forwarded to Claudine and Igor, and you will receive a message returned through email with an answer to your question if we don't answer it during the session today. So with that, we'll do as many as we can, and we'll jump right in. So the first question we have here is, when will the publications after Foundation be released?
So the publications after Foundation, they'll be released in the second half of 2019. We're going to confirm the exact dates when we confirm the dates for launching the ITIL modules, which will be in the first quarter of next year, by the time we announce, by the time we release Foundation.
Okay, and the next question that we have here is, when is ITIL version 3 going to be discontinued?
So the earliest date that we are going to discontinue ITIL v3 will be June 2020, not earlier than that. And this is for the English version. For the translations for the other languages, it will follow the schedule that we're going to announce in terms of the next translations.
Okay, no, thanks for answering that because one of the questions was asking about other languages, so that covers that. All right, so the next question that we have here is, what is the duration of the ITIL 4 Foundation course?
Yeah, good question. The ITIL 4 agenda is for 2 days. So in these 2 days, we will talk about different subjects, and that is enough to be prepared for your exam. You can, depending on how the exam is contracted, you can, after that 2 days, you can immediately do your exam or afterwards.
All right, that makes sense. And the next question we have for you both is, I have done all of the existing ITIL courses. What is my best course of action for the new scheme?
I'm considering then that this person would be probably an ITIL expert. In that case, any ITIL expert, they would be able to take the transition, the ITIL managing professional transition straight away. And this transition module will be available in the second half of 2019.
So they'll only need to do the one single module?
Yeah, one training and one exam, which would be the ITIL MP transition module, training and exam.
Okay. And I'm not sure if this is related, but the next question that we have here is, I'm planning on doing ITIL Master. Is this still viable if I've already started in the current scheme?
Yes, so ITIL Master will remain as one of the levels within the new certification scheme. So it's the top level on the scheme, as we have covered before. So definitely ITIL Master will remain valid within the new certification scheme.
Thank you, Igor. Just take a look at the clock, everyone. I think we've gone a few minutes over, so I think we need to wrap up today. But if we didn't get to your question, like I said, all of the questions will be forwarded to Claudine and Igor, and they will be answered most likely via email later on. Just last couple things we need to cover before we check out here today is to remind you that the FAQs, frequently asked questions, are available on both Axelos's specific website for ITIL 4, which is built on ITIL.com, which you can see in the bottom left-hand corner there, and also on our website as well, which is quintgroup.com, and as well as the selection of other courseware and areas in which we dabble in, such as Lean IT and DevOps as well. Thank you all for joining today. There's Igor and Claudine's information right there if you'd like to email them directly. Thank you all for joining. Have a great day.